Coming up next on The Jeff Crilley Show, if you are a veteran, listen up. There's never been a better time to buy a home. That's just ahead on The Jeff Crilley Show.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is The Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, certainly all of us owe a debt of gratitude for the hardworking men and women who put their lives on the line for their country and served in the military. They get back home, and many of them don't fully recognize all the benefits that they get from that military service. To talk about that today, John Yacos, he is with Supreme Lending. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jeff, for having me. Excited to be here today.
Well, first of all, thank you for your service because you served in the Marines. Tell us about that experience.
So I was in for about 15 years active duty, finished up in the reserves. I started as an infantryman, worked on some college while I was enlisted, and then got my college degree in 2007 and went to OCS, which is Officer Candidate School. Got commissioned as a lieutenant, went to the basic school, which is a follow-on school, and then got designated as a logistics officer. So all in all, been a very well-rounded experience in the Marines where you've been on both sides of the fence, which you've been the aggressor, then you've also been the supporter under combat service support, and learned a lot of things about the military, but did not learn a whole lot about VA benefits or really anything under the VA umbrella in general until I had gotten out. And I am currently in lending these days where I'm helping veterans not just in the Dallas area but nationwide take a look at their veteran benefits, specifically with the VA loans, and educate them a little bit better than what we probably had done previously in the Marine Corps.
You and I had a chance to visit before the show, and you were saying that you know, a lot of the people who served the country, you know, they gave their heart and soul to the country, but then they come back and many of them are kind of lost, and they don't even fully appreciate the great VA loans that are available.
The value that's there for them, for sure. And that's something that I've gone to basically a couple of different camps in the Marine Corps. And by camps, that's not something in the Middle East, but actually here, like a Camp Pendleton or Camp Lejeune out in North Carolina, to talk to active duty members while they're still in service, to talk to them about the transitioning out, which I'm not the only one to do this, but talking about the benefits for the VA housing loans that we do. We don't do a very good job of educating our people. Specifically when we go on deployment, it's usually 6 to 7 months, where if somebody forgets to put a auto pay on a vehicle or some sort of a cell phone, they could come back and have a 500 or 550 credit score and think that they're going to buy a house when they get back for their family, which is not going to be a reality. And so we talk through what that looks like in terms of basically just being an adult and managing your finances, and then being a little bit more prepared for when you're exiting active duty and getting into the civilian workforce.
Awesome. We've got some pictures that we pulled from social media, and I want you to kind of narrate them for us. This first picture, tell us what we're looking at.
So that's me and a group of Marines that I worked with that were actually underneath me in Camp Dwyer, Afghanistan. So this was during the retrograde. For anybody that's participated in the campaign, this was in 2012 when the Marines were basically consolidating and pulling out of Afghanistan. And so the vehicles behind there are called LAVs, which are light armored vehicles. And that was the battalion that we were with, which is LAR, which is light armored reconnaissance. So we were in the process of retrograding those vehicles from Afghanistan back here to CONUS, which is the continental United States.
And what's this picture?
That was actually the year prior. That was Christmas in Afghanistan. So busy times for a Marine between 2009 and 2012 in that theater. So my aunt and her family put together a large care package for my platoon. In this photo, I was a motor transport platoon commander as a first lieutenant. So that's Christmas morning, 2010. With basically the packages that the church and my aunt had put together. And it was a pretty cool experience giving those to the Marines where most of them had not planned on getting anything on Christmas.
And this picture?
This is the first time I did a VA home loan briefing with a peer of mine. That is Captain Bradford, now Major Bradford. He was a company commander at the time out in Camp Pendleton and requested that I come out for a site visit to talk to his Marines about everything that we lightly touched on this morning and make sure that his guys were going to be set up for success for purchasing home and then also the transition out of active duty.
Well, if there's one thing I know about the Marines, it's discipline. How did the discipline that you learned in the military shape the career that you have today?
Well, as a officer, part of your ranking, and not just as an officer, but when you start getting into the evaluation, which you're not going to have as a junior Marine, but as a NCO or non-commissioned officer, staff non-commissioned officer, and officer, part of your evaluation is based on communication. So you need to make sure that Jeff understands the plan, because if Jeff doesn't understand the plan, probably not going to execute too well. So when executing a home loan, for example, I need to make sure that we're on the same page with the client that's borrowing the money, the real estate agents that are involved on both sides, the appraiser, the title company, because there is a symphony of people that come together to make this work, for sure, on this.
Okay, tell us about a VA loan, because a lot of people, we've heard about it our whole adult lives, but they may not know the details. I mean, it's a 0% loan?
Yeah, it is a 0% down, and obviously, as with anything with the government, nothing's free. So they do have a funding fee that's required of 2.3% of whatever the financed amount is for the first-time buyer, and for subsequent use, it's 3.6%. And this is, again, for the 0% down. Now, if you do have a disability rating, those fees are waived by the VA, and so you do not have a funding fee. And the state of Texas has actually made it even more beneficial for veterans to move here after they get off of active duty. So if you're a 100% disabled veteran here in the state, you're obviously not going to have the funding fee like we just discussed, but you're also not going to pay property taxes on your home here. So that really adds up to a lot of savings for those men and women that serve our nation.
And before the show, we were talking about all of the folks moving from California. And you were telling me some stories about people who are crying on the phone. They cannot believe the value that they're getting in Texas.
Right, and this isn't just exclusive to VA loans. This is just in general talking about life experiences in 2020 with COVID. A lot of folks had to start working remotely. A lot of companies found that they are very successful still working remotely or having their employees work remotely. So with that being said, and that mentality, a lot of folks over in the Bay Area or just in California in general, where there's extreme high cost of living, private schools, all those things that go into living in Los Angeles or San Francisco, started taking a look even more so at moving to Texas. And so Texas, there's been a lot of folks moving previously from California here, but really this year, at least in my purview, we've had a substantially larger amount of applicants that have come through at least my office to talk about about getting a loan. So when talking to somebody out of state, it's just a shock to them. They've done some research on their own, generally speaking, before they get to me, and they understand the difference and the price point. But then when you really talk to them and hammer home, wait, this is the plan, this is going to be the deal, you're going to sell the home out there in California, you're going to not only keep a lot of those proceeds, but you're going to be able to utilize them for just improving your general overall lifestyle here. And so people, I've had a couple people actually cry on the phone when they understand how it's just going to be this huge change of lifestyle for them.
And I was surprised to learn that you can qualify for up to $1.5 million.
Yeah, and that's something new that the VA put in rather recently. And so they used to have it based on what state, what county, there were certain loan limits, and now it's just a flat $1.5 million regardless of where you live at that you can be eligible for with 0% down. There's obviously qualifications to still meet that kind of a loan amount, but in the event that you do qualify both on credit and income and basically a reserve ratio, then that is there.
You can buy a nice house for that.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So we're almost out of time. So final thoughts. For the person watching this or who might have served in the military, I mean, they've got to take advantage of this, don't they?
Yeah. It's at least worth talking to your local lender about. I'm not saying that you have to utilize it. As discussed, there is a funding fee. So when you get up to the 1.5 million mark, a 3.6% funding fee could be rather costly. But if you have to purchase in a certain area and you don't have the requirements for the down payment or just the requirements and all for jumbo financing, then the VA would be a great opportunity for you to get into that property.
Outstanding. Well, we're going to have you back, and thank you again for your service.
Thanks for having me today.
You bet. We're going to put the website up to end the segment so you can get in touch, John Yacos, and there it is on the screen. John Yacos .supremelendingloanofficer.com. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. And that's it for now. We'll see you next time.